Hello, everyone. I am thrilled to be speaking today on behalf of State Senator Jessica Dela Cruz. I apologize I can't be there in person, and the reason why, because I owe you some explanation, is we had something of a family medical emergency. And I felt horrible calling up David and Jessica and telling them that I wasn't going to be able to be there when we had planned this for months. And it was so quick to when everything was happening that I knew it would be difficult to find a replacement. But the first thing out of both David and Jessica's mouths were, how can we pray for you? And I think that says a lot about their character. It says a lot about the sort of person that you have representing you, because they would have had every right to be a little bit upset, a little bit frustrated. But none of that came through. None of that came through in the conversation. It was just, Nick, how can we pray? How can we pray? So I am very grateful, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. The very first time I met Senator Jessica, as I will affectionately refer to her, and her husband David, we were in Portugal. There was a legislative conference over there, and we got invited over in order to learn about the relationship between the United States and Portugal, the various trade opportunities, everything of that nature. It was an incredible trip, very informative. But as you can imagine, there was a lot of state legislators there from New England. And it turns out, and no condemnation, New England doesn't have a lot of Republican state legislators. And so as we're on this trip, and I saw that Jessica was a senator from Rhode Island, I'm thinking, probability that we agree on stuff is probably pretty low. And so we were at one of the meetings and we're walking down somewhere, and Jessica looks at me, she goes, hey, Nick Freitas. I said, yeah. She goes, did you give a gun speech in 2018? And I was like, oh boy, here it goes. I don't know what's going to come next, but I did not expect it to be, I loved your speech. And from then on, I was like, oh my gosh, there's another conservative in the group. And, from then on, I met, as soon as we got out of our meetings, David was there at dinner and got to meet him. And from then on, I've been a huge fan of both of them. And I can't thank you enough for supporting her, because she has an incredibly difficult role. It is very difficult to try to go out there and fight for and support sound, common sense, conservative values in an environment where they are commonly rejected, if not outright ignored. And you've got to be the person that wades into that fight, and does so with grace and with poise and with intelligence and discernment. And I can't think of a better person to send into that environment than Jessica. She does so just with an incredible amount of conviction, but also compassion and ability to look at other people's perspectives and realize that if she wants to see any change in Rhode Island, if she wants to see any change in a Senate which is so stacked against her, then she's going to have to be both honest but also clever in the way she goes about it. And not the sort of cleverness which is so common in politics, which should probably be more aptly described as, let's just say actively described as dishonesty. But no, she stays true to what she believes, but she finds ways to be able to listen to other people's perspectives. And sometimes in letting someone else share their perspective, their experiences, where they're approaching the problem with, sometimes being able to do that allows you to find that point, to find that single point of agreement where now, maybe we disagree on 99% of things, but on this one thing, we may be able to work together to accomplish something. And that's incredible. That's what you want in that sort of environment, but it's not the only thing you want. The other thing you want in that environment is someone who's not afraid to stand up when the vast majority is against you and to say, no, we're not going to agree on this, and I'm not going to compromise on those values, those principles, which I believe are true and sacred. Because truth demands an advocate. We can't have infinite compromise. Sure, there's plenty of things within politics that you can appropriately compromise on in order to find some sort of end state, which may not be everything you want, but it's better than what you currently got. But then there's other moments. Then there's other moments where you need someone that is willing to stand there boldly and unapologetically make the argument for that which is true and pure and noble, and is willing to do so. And if that means it ends their political career, well, so be it. That's the sort of person that we need. That's the sort of person we need in politics now more than ever. I'm not really interested in people that claim to share my values but have no courage of their convictions. Because let's face it, Courage may be contagious, but so is cowardice. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in difficult states where they think that the way that they're actually going to get somewhere is by constantly surrendering their position, finding, instead of dying on the wrong hill, they refuse to die on any. And as a result, you wake up one day and you realize that you've made no impact. You may have been in the position for a long time. You may have reached the highest levels that you possibly can, but you've made zero impact because you lacked the courage of your convictions. You guys never have to worry about that with Jessica, because she knows what she believes. She knows why she believes in it. She knows that she answers not only to you, but she also answers to God. She answers to objective truth and objective morality, and she's not willing to surrender that position. She's not willing to surrender it to rise up the ranks. She's not willing to surrender it to feed her political goals or career, because for her, this isn't a career. This is service. This is service on behalf of something that is just and true. And I will tell you right now, please, please understand what you have there, because I can point to you to any number of politicians who run in districts which are so reliably conservative. They win every election by 60 points, and they cannot be prevailed upon to stand for truth when it costs them anything. And you have someone that runs in a state that's very difficult, and yet she's still willing to stand. She's still willing to stand by those principles. And that's what you need. It's the only thing that ultimately impresses people. I've noticed this. If you want more people to come away to your way of thinking, come along to your way of thinking, you're not going to get them there by compromising on everything. You're not going to get them there by acting like you're ashamed of your beliefs. You're going to get them by displaying courage, because that's what people follow. People follow courage. And Jessica is willing to demonstrate it on a daily basis, at risk to herself, at risk to her career, potentially at risk to her family. Why is she willing to do it? Well, because she believes it's where God has called her to be. And that's what we need in every stretch of life. We need advocates for truth. We need advocates of truth who are willing to do so at great personal cost and risk. And Jessica's that sort of person. And so is David. And I don't know. I'm actually getting out of politics this next year. I didn't seek re-election, and so that'll be 10 years in the General Assembly, and I'm leaving. But one of the things I asked for, that I prayed about when we had made the decision and felt like it was time for us to leave the legislature, was, God, please send us someone that we can trust to nobly go forward and be the sort of advocate for truth that we need right now. And I was very blessed that he brought someone from my district. He brought me someone that I think is a lot like Jessica, to be able to represent the 62nd here in Virginia. And so I'm telling you all of this because I think sometimes it can be easy to just take things for granted. Oh yeah, it's a politician I generally agree with, and so I'm supporting her. No, you have a fighter. You have a fighter. And if we're ever going to turn around the politics of this country, it's going to come from the sort of people, the sort of representatives that Jessica is. So I thank you very much for being willing to support her. I apologize I couldn't be with you in person. I owe her one, so I'll be up there at some point to be able to talk to you in person and hopefully answer your questions. But just please know, if anything I've said or done, I don't know if I'm someone that you might follow on social media, if anything I've said or done, again, has inspired you or has led you to believe that maybe I'm a somewhat stand-up guy, I cannot more thoroughly endorse Jessica de la Cruz to continue serving and representing the people of Rhode Island in the capacity that she is. And hopefully, maybe at a higher capacity if God and her constituents call her to it. But once again, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for supporting someone that you can truly depend upon in a difficult situation. It's an honor to endorse her. It's an honor to call them both my friend. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you in person next time.